like that, Madison, Wisconsin. We are here today, not with wine. We're here to just talk about real estate. So I'm Tiffany Tobias with Start Company Realtors. We are here talking about first-time home buyers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And instead of a market fun fact, it's still a market fun fact, but we kind of wanted to say a fun fact about first-time home buyers. And something that we're seeing is that the average age for a first-time home buyer is between 38 and 40 here in Madison or Wisconsin in general. And so I'm always really proud of any first-time home buyer. But I like to remind my first-time home buyers that are not at that 38, 40-year-old threshold that they're doing something special. First-time home buying in general is special, but I just thought that was such an interesting fact, but not surprising with the way that affordability is currently at this time.
Say your name so everyone knows who you are.
Yeah.
Just jumping right in.
She's ready to go.
Y'all don't know me by now? No, my name is Katie Kolakowski with City RE.
Yeah. And I'm Janae Wood with Start Company Realtors. Yeah, so absolutely. Age is going up. And I think as a first-time home buyer, something people ask us, our market fact is also going to be about what's coming soon and what's out there for inventory. So what I looked up was, what do we have actually on the market right now? We're filming on January 21, so it'll be pretty consistent when this is up. Single family homes in Dane County, 498 active listings right now. But if you look at just what's Madison, which also includes Fitchburg and Middleton in our searches, there's only 159 active. So a lot of it is, I think, new construction out in the suburbs. Coming soon for single family homes in Dane County, there's 82 right now, but they span prices of $275,000 to $3.5 million. Something for everybody, I guess you could say. Condos coming soon in Dane County, condos that are active, 101 is what we have available in the Madison area, and 170 total in Dane County. And then coming soon, 30 condos. So we don't have a lot right now, but I think we've got more than what we had for all the 4 prior years. And we typically see more come on after the Super Bowl, would you guys say is sort of like sometimes the launching period where we start to see more?
I think so. I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see something. I mean, when we get these like freezes too, I mean, it makes sense that people wait a little bit longer. I think when you get to mid-February, you can kind of guarantee that at least we're on the up. You know what I mean? Hopefully, as far as up as in weather, temperature.
Yeah, and I do feel like it's very much location based. And so I was out with some younger first time home buyers also too this weekend, and we were looking in Cross Plains specifically, the price point for non-new builds, like you're talking about. I think new builds really float a lot of those numbers, but non-new builds in Cross Plains for anything below 450, there was one. And so in that 50 groups had already been through the open house.
Wow.
We were there with 3 other showings. And so you're just watching people in that affordable price point competing, as well as first-time home buyers, which again, we're going to talk about in general this whole podcast. But it's just really interesting to see. I do think a lot of those numbers are floated by new construction because once again, specifically if you look in Cross Plains right now, a lot of that inventory, 550 and below is the new Creek Crossing neighborhood over there that is being built by Viridian.
Yeah. And I try to tell my people, just wait, like more is coming. I think everyone's so anxious right now. They want to jump in. They want to get the first house that comes on the market. Let's just give it a chance. Because in February, we're going to see more. In March, we're going to see even more. Like there are homes. We don't have to be desperate and chase what comes on today.
Well, I think people get nervous, especially when they're buying their first home, right? Because 99% of the time they're in a lease right now.
Right.
And so they're getting to that point where they have to decide whether they're going to have to re-sign that lease or whether they're going to purchase something. So I know I'm working with a few people that are in that situation. Same thing, they're feeling anxious, but we know we've all been doing this for long enough to know that they'll find something if they're just and none of us want anyone to buy something just to buy something, right? That's why we're here to talk about the process and how to, do things the right way the first time so that you're not having buyer's remorse.
Right.
I do feel more has come out since December, but I do agree with you both that more and more will be coming out. However, I do feel like a lot of people are out early this year compared to last year. I do feel like we had a little bit of a lull in typically the spring market for activity. It was, once again, very pockety, but I do feel that people are starting to pop out a little bit earlier and have their eyes peeled, and I think it's going to be a busy spring.
I think so too.
Oh, yeah.
I think so too. One stat I looked up was, what do you guys think the median down payment is for first-time home buyers?
I saw your
Sheet
sheet
at
already,
the sheet.
but I have to say before I saw the sheet, look at it, it's like confession time. Before I saw your sheet, I would have said between 3 to 5%.
Yeah.
I really think that when you hear first-time home buyers, you're thinking zero, even zero, because there's plenty of programs or options or things that you can find that are zero. 3-5% down, I would say, would typically be a norm that I hear.
And it's 10%. So that tells us, I think, as first-time home buyers get older, they have obviously bigger savings. They have,
Right.
I think, parents that are helping. Some of the top sources were personal savings were 60%. So buyers are, they've got a lot more in savings than they used to. Financial assets like 401ks, people are taking loans from, stocks, or crypto. Is anyone, I haven't heard of anyone doing a sale with crypto around here. But,
Not in Madison.
Okay.
California, I've heard of it, or New York, but not here.
Exactly.
And the only time I've seen it is on Selling Manhattan.
I know, that's our show.
Yes.
That's our show.
The commercial agent that did a whole
Yes.
deal in crypto.
That's
Saw
the
it.
only time. And I was like, am I going to learn something here? I'm like, nope, didn't learn anything.
Exactly. And then a lot of buyers are getting gifts from their parents, which has been a lot of my clients, and that's been super helpful.
Yeah, generational wealth, I think we're going to see more of that. It's, as homes are purchased in a family, like my great-grandparents owned, passed down to my grandparents, passed down to my parents. We're seeing generational housing turnover and wealth being built in families. With that being said, there's other groups of people too that we're trying to get in the game to create that generational wealth. So I do predict that, housing is a great asset and can be turned into future generations to come, if that makes sense.
So when did you buy your first home?
So mine was 30 years ago. I had to look up the date. It was 1996. I bought in Sun Prairie. I don't remember much about the process, to be honest with you. It was so long ago. I remember we first looked at a really old house by a commercial part of Sun Prairie. We must have been under contract because we did an inspection, and then it fell through. There was wood rotting, and it was structural in nature, so we just backed out and ended up with a 1960 ranch, really cute, great yard on Goodland Street. Paid $105,000 back in 1996.
I love that.
How about you guys?
My first time home buying journey was a little bit different. I think I was married at the time, and we went for pre-approval at 33, 32, 33. Long story short, we did not get it. So we had to work for about 4 to 5 years to be able to correct things so that we could be able to home buy. And then got my first condo at 30, I guess it was 32, 30, 31 in there somewhere, but 36 is when I purchased my first condo. So it was a little bebopper. And I remember just walking in, loving it. It was a 1-bedroom loft in Denver, Colorado. I had a fantastic real estate agent. Shout out to Landon Smith. He's fantastic. And in real estate, I try to emulate all the good qualities about him because he taught me what good service means. I really, really, really enjoyed him. And then it's fun moving here, being able to, like we said, take that, sell that, and then be able to purchase. I still am a condo owner, but I will never forget my first condo and just the journey and the process that it took us to get there. So
Yeah. How about you?
Late 20s, and bought over on the east side of Madison in Richmond Hill, and really bought we were in a position where we were so lucky. We used the VA loan. And the house had been sitting for a little bit. And so we ended up getting in just at a really good deal with not having to have that big chunk down. So we were able to buy in that high 200 range, just under 300,000. But really, didn't, just bought the house that we wanted, which was great at that time. Now those houses are 500-600, but, and I don't live in the neighborhood anymore, but it was an awesome, process. And right after I went through that, 2 years later, I ended up coming into real estate. So, yeah.
That was a big
Should we talk about what our process is with buyers and what it's going to be like? Anyone want to start?
Well, I think the main thing is having a process, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk about this for the topic, was because we all have a process, right? And we might be
pretty similar.
Different and similar in some cases, but we have a process, and we have plans for our buyers to make sure that they start, that search, and they're in the know, and we can talk about what that means, but then get all the way to that closing table and they know what to expect. And that's really what it is that they're not walking in blind, because we've all done it and we know what works for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like Tiffany said, we're all data backed, but we really like getting people in, if possible, for a consultation. So then we can go into the buying process, answer questions about the market, learn about what's important to people, to the clients, and also discuss like step by step what our process is. I actually, in a dream world, would love, my first consultation usually runs 75 to 90 minutes. I would love a second one. And sometimes I can get people who want to do it, practice offers writing before we even get out into the world. I really think that makes a big advantage, because when you're ready to walk into your first one, and if you're in competition, you've already discussed the scenarios, people are already excited about it. I don't even mind during the two consultations having them pick a house and we watch it like a movie of a market. And so just really all that education, the more education that you do on the back end, the better it is going to be for you on the front end, I believe. And just really nailing that down, making sure people are comfortable.
Yeah. I love to meet with them in person if I can.
Oh, yeah.
Bring them into the office. I send them a buyer guide, which gives that information about kind of what steps are going to be, how the process is going to go in general. I also have a buyer worksheet I like them to fill out. Before we meet, if possible, so then I can gauge where they are in the process, what they're looking for, and then we can go more into depth when we meet in person. But I'll do by Zoom. I've got one later today, actually, by Zoom. It's not my preference, but if someone's out of town, Zoom works. We'll do by phone if need be. I prefer the office, but I will go to a coffee shop or wherever is convenient for somebody so they feel comfortable. And after, it probably takes 45 minutes to an hour. It just depends on how many questions people have. I want to make sure they have all the time that they feel is necessary to ask me questions. If I give lender recommendations, if they don't have one, talk about pre-approval, and then we kind of go from there.
I mean, don't you think like that's the thing, like the reason that we're bringing this up is because you hear so many times that these buyers are like, oh, okay, I'm online and I'm just like, I want to go see a house, and they go see a house, and I'm working, I work with buyers like this, they've gone and saw a home. They're not necessarily sure, what they can afford because they haven't spent the time talking to the lender. And then all of a sudden it's like, they get excited about wanting to move forward, but it's like, okay, let's take a few steps back, because, we want to make sure that, number one, you talk to a lender, because it's hard for us to write. We've talked about this before. You can't write an offer without a pre-approval.
No.
No one's going to even look at it seriously. But then also we want to make sure that they're comfortable in their budget, right? Like that the buyers that we're working with have really put the numbers in, because there's not just the the principal and interest. There's the taxes and the insurance and all those other things, or condo fees. And so that's why that consultation is important, because we want to make sure that that they're not going to be housed for, and that they're looking and nobody wants to look at something they can't afford and then try to compare it afterwards to other, other houses. I mean, that's just tough in general. So, but that's part of that process.
Or they fall in love. So I just met with people earlier this week. I really want them to have a pre-approval before we go out looking. Yeah. If their timeline is now or the near future, because if they see something and they fall in love, they're not ready to write. And if it's a weekend, they're not going to be able to get a pre-approval usually. Yeah. It's really hard to work backwards and put that stress on themselves. I don't want that. I want to have it in place so then we're all on the same page and we can move forward.
I think in a culture like the United States, it's so easy to push a button and expect instant results. And then, we were talking about a little bit earlier that people expect you to be able to meet them in just a couple hours of the house, like pushing the button. But it's like, this is a big purchase. This is one of your largest assets that you're going to have. To do the due diligence, to do the homework, and to take it seriously is really important to all of us, but also we, like you said, want to really set our people up for success.
Right.
And I think that starts with the consultation. Once again, is that how we meet everybody or everybody's preferred method? No, but at some point we're going to have multiple conversations along the line to make sure that people are educated correctly.
Absolutely. And do you have to sign something as a buyer before you see a house? I think that's one of the biggest questions for buyers right now is, do they have to sign a buyer agency before we show them something?
No. And don't you think, and I love that you're saying this, because I think that people need to understand is that they do not have to sign a buyer agency. They do have to sign a documentation, and we call it pre-agency here in Wisconsin. Yeah. So you do have to sign a pre-agency, which says, you're giving us permission to show them the house, obviously, but you're also disclosing what their, further options are, whether they are going to enter buyer agency or they are going to remain a customer and not a client. Mm-hmm. And I actually love the fact that they don't have to sign that up front because
the buyer agency up front.
Yeah, the buyer agency up front. I tell most of my buyers, and we all do things differently, and I get that. But I say to my buyers in the consultation is I say, here's both so you know what they look like. I'm going to have you sign a pre-agency, right, in order to look at the house. But I'm not requiring you to commit to working with me right now. This is the first time we've met, or you just were referred to me, and let's work a little bit. Let's see a few houses. Yeah. So you can decide whether or not you want to work with me. And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
So
it's a dating period.
It's a dating period. And these buyers.
For both.
Yes. For both.
Yes.
Right?
Client and us.
Be like, no, we're not
everyone fits together perfectly. So.
But yes, it's so important. So important to know that that's not a requirement and that you're not committed to that person until you really feel like you're working with them and that they're going to give you the results that you need.
Yeah, I agree. I love the pre-agency form. I love it just because that dating period is so important to me. If you don't want to work with me, I want you to be able to have the liberty to easily go sign as many pre-agency forms as you want. I always ask people for the courtesy to be direct and honest with me if you're doing that. Yeah. And I will always be direct and honest with people as well. I want it to be a good fit. It has to be a fit that I always tell people too, as a first-time homebuyer or any buyer, you're in the middle of a sphere, and your offshoots are like spokes of a wheel. Your realtor has got to be a really sturdy, strong spoke, because if your realtor isn't good, or your lender's not good, or your inspector, or your title, you can get a flat tire and then you're not rolling forward. So I think it's really important during that dating period to make sure that you're a good fit, and then also to make sure that everybody's comfortable with each other.
Yeah. And so there is a rule that they do have to sign something.
Yeah.
And that is the pre-agency showing agreement if they don't want to commit to that agent right away. If they know they want to work with you and they're committed to working with just you and they want to hire you, they could sign the buyer agency. And I've had that happen. But generally I do the pre-agency as well. Let's date, let's see how things go. If they want to sign with somebody else, they can do that. So the point being, they can have as many pre-agency signatures out there as they need to see houses. And then eventually they do need to decide how they want to proceed, whether working with a listing agent or they don't have representation or a buyer agent who represents their interests. But before we go into buyer agency, let's just, because we've talked about it, let's break down what happens when you're online on Zillow or Realtor.com and you click request a tour or connect now. I think people think it's going to the listing agent for the house often. At least I've had, that was the assumption that people have,
that they're reaching
out to the listing agent. So I want to just provide a little bit of education, because everyone's always surprised when I tell them that's not the case. It's going to agents who are buying leads for that zip code. So it's not the list agent with the information you were probably hoping to obtain.
Yeah, this is a great segue. I started my business this way. So a lot of online leads. When I first moved to Madison, I knew 14 people during COVID. It was my family members. So I really hopped into the online sphere, and it did a lot of good for me. However, I don't think people fully understand when they're pushing that button what happens on the back end. Agents are either paying for those leads or you're receiving the lead, and then you will owe a realtor or a Zillow a certain percentage of each transaction as well. And when you're not getting the listing agent, you're getting people who have agreed to these contracts or referral contracts, as well as people who are paying outright dollars for them. And so doing the due diligence and seeing who the listing agent is, which is another topic, which I'm sure we're going to discuss here in a minute. But also to knowing that also too, I've had people be like, well, I thought it would go to you. The only website that happens is homes.com typically, if you're the listing agent. But buying agents, no, even if you see something on Zillow, even if you see something on Realtor, it's coming from the MLS, which I don't think a lot of people realize.
Which is what we input all our data. It's coming from us.
So we originally see that data. We have full exposure to that data. We can see actually probably more data behind the scenes. And then once agents release that to go out into the internet world, it gets kicked out to the other portals. But I think that's interesting. I don't think people really fully understand what's happening or who they end up with or why they end up with a person when they're hitting that click here now to see the home.
And it could be a way to meet an agent you might ultimately want to work with, but that's pretty random. And I think there might be other ways, if you really do want a buyer agent, ask your friends who they worked with, do some research.
Or don't be afraid to sign the pre-agency. Like I never minded when I was an online agent, and I still do dabble in some lead platforms, but I never minded when I had people, they could even reject the pre-agency form. I just have to present it to them or sign it but I always tell them too, if you're working with another agent, please let me know. I'm happy for you to go out and interview other agents too. Because at the end of the day, it's about being a good fit. And whether you find them online or through a friend referral, like the option of the pre-agency form is so nice. Don't ever let anybody lock you into a buyer agency until you're ready.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about buyer agency.
You want
me to start?
Tell us, Janae.
All right, let's talk about buyer agency. So pre-agency dating period. Buyer agency is when you're both deciding you're going to commit to work with one another. It allows me to fully represent my client. It's when I can give you advice. I can tell you negative things about the house. I can give you price opinions. I can run comps. I can engage in potential conversations about price and terms with the other agent. I mean, if this is what you're hoping the agent can do for you, then you need to have a buyer agent, because without it, I think which most buyers don't understand is we start at base level with representing a seller's interests. We can't, with pre-agency, give you a price opinion, tell you anything that's against seller interests in the house, make any negative comments, say it's priced too high. We need to have a buyer agency to be saying those things that are against the seller's interests, but advocating for you.
That's a great explanation.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Okay, that's it. And you're hiring us, right? So
you're hiring us.
It's their mechanism to hire us as their agent. There's going to be a commission listed in there, which will be negotiable between you and your client.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be for a time period that you decide with your client too.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be 6 months. It doesn't have to be a year. It could be for one house. I mean, it's really individually based, with that situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. Check that off the list.
Ding.
Any other questions? Send us an email.
We got our Instagram page now.
Set up our consultation.
Yeah, or set up a consultation.
You can
interview
DM
each
us. One of us and decide which one.
Right. But know what you're signing, because if you do sign a buyer agency, you don't want to be hitting the connect now, requested to, or you've hired an agent. Call them, text them, bother them. They're the ones that need to show you the house. I can't say how many times my clients will say, oh, I didn't want to bother you. No, that's what you're hiring me for.
Yeah.
Bother me.
I totally agree. We talked about that a little bit before too, is that's like the worst thing, because we're like, no, you can call me whenever. Well, whenever. To a limit, right?
Well, I mean, full transparency.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like, you can sleep on your phone off. They can call whenever.
Yeah.
You get back to them whenever. Right. So it's like, within a lot of time. But we're human too. It's all good.
I like that.
Yeah. No.
I think, the other things that we probably aren't going to dig into are the things that we have seen as far as mistakes that people can, make, or which is why, again, you have the process. But I mean, I know on our next episode, we're going to really dig into more on inspections, but I know that's part of the process. That's part of the things that we talk about, I think we all agree that inspection is really important, especially for the, these first time home buyers. I mean, we've all sold houses that people have waived their inspection before and, know what can come up on the back end. But, all the things that we like to talk about, with the clients, like location, all these things that are part of our process. Like, I'm working with a gentleman right now, and location's really important. And so when we start to get off the beaten path of that, yes, we're finding some places that are nice, but part of my job is to reel him back and say, okay, location is what you told me was important. I don't want you to get away from that, right?
Because, is that still number one, or are we flipping to something else so that we can stay on the same path?
Because it's something that you can't change. So again, helping that guidance, but then also encouraging you to do the next steps in the process should you get an accepted offer as well. That's our job.
Yeah, all those contingencies running through an offer.
Yeah, so talk about offer terms. What are some of the big ones? That go into an offer.
Yeah, I always tell people, first and foremost, I don't walk into your job and know how to do it. I don't expect you to walk in and know all the terms. There's no way I could walk into a medical office and they start blurting stuff out and I know what that is. And it's the same thing with real estate. So if you hear words like appraisal, guide you through that. That's what the bank values your home at. Some other terms, probably loan commitment. That's the letter at the end that says, these are the things that needs to happen to be clear to close, but we're on our way, in essence.
And to make an offer, do you guys usually sit down in person with your buyers for the first time if it's possible, or how do you tend to do your
I
your
prefer
first
to, just for, just even for the first time, the first offer, we might not always get the first offer, right?
Yeah,
so
that's what
I think writing it down, going through it. Now, you said if you practice a few times, they might not have
if you're
to.
doing it in advance.
But I mean, if we can sit down the first time, then I know that the next time I feel a lot more confident being like, hey, I can send you this online and we can fill it in together, but then you can sign it. But I do really, really prefer to sit down and go through the offer for the first one that we write. It just makes me feel more comfortable.
I agree with that. A lot of times I can't get people to meet in person if we can't practice beforehand too. So what I will do also too is write the offer and then go over it. Go over it line by line if we need to. Some people feel confident at that point, so they don't need that. But if people need that, whether it's in person or on the phone, we need to know what these lines mean because it's a legally binding document.
It is. Yeah, and it's important they understand every bit of it. And the clients I just met with, they wanted to know kind of what are the next steps, when we're ready to make an offer, which I thought was a good question. What happens? Maybe it is you're filling it out and sending it to them to go over the phone because you've already done it in advance. We're sitting down to do it in person, because we don't do that in advance. But then also just talking about the important things to think about, what goes into it. Earnest money. It's not just about price. earnest money, and that's the money that they're going to pay within a few days of an accepted offer to kind of have their skin in the game. We tend to see that's what 1% to 2% of purchase price around here.
And that goes towards your down deposit, like your down payment. Like people are like, am I losing this or is this extra on top? No, it's not.
Right. Sits there and waits for you and at the end gets credited back. Home inspection, is another contingency they can put in. You talked about appraisal, loan commitment. And then a big question I get from first-time home buyers is, what's the typical time from accepted offer to closing?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that always asked? Which I think most of our answers are, it depends.
Right.
I say 30 to 60 days, but a seller often is going to put out there when they need to or want to close, right? Yeah. And that can differ greatly from seller to seller. They may want to rent back for a week.
Yeah.
They might want to close in 20 days. Another one might want to close in 90 days.
Yeah.
Right? So we just kind of look at everything, the situation in front of us. It's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, I feel that. I know that we're kind of running out of time, but do you all have like a tip or a tidbit that you would give to a first-time home buyer that you wish you knew or that you see out there that...
Hire an agent.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be my advice is hire an agent and go on showings with your agent. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I think, we talked about this a little bit, but I don't ever want someone to feel like they have to settle. Like, you're not going to get everything you want, right, necessarily in your first home. I mean, there's probably going to be some things you have to compromise on. But I also, I feel like, it's our job to work together to make the buyer feel like they're not necessarily settling, like they're getting enough of what they want in the location that they want. They're getting all of those things. And so I hate when I see people like rush, you know what I mean? Or feel like they're rushed. Like I am like, okay,
oh, I have to take this one. I'm like, no, we're not.
No,
Yeah.
And I think,
and a good agent will tell you if they don't think that's a good idea.
No, we're not.
Yeah, I was just, that's what I was going to say. Like, I hate to be that way, but I am totally like, nope, that's not happening. We're not writing on this. Like, this is not anything that you want.
Your mindset
if you want
is
to
not
convince
excited.
me this is your dream house, I will write on it. But now, and then most of the time it's like, I'm settling. And like, I hate that. Like, that's one thing that I don't want. I'm willing to show you houses as long as it takes to get you to the one that you need. But, I think that's a big part. Like, don't settle. Like,
don't settle.
And I feel like some first-time home buyers feel like they need to like everything they go into. And I do give them the permission to say, if you walk in and you're not feeling it, that's okay. Like, we do not have to go and do a full tour of this house. You just say, or I'm going to be watching your face. And if the expression tells me, like, you are not into this, let's not waste your time. Let's go.
When we bought our home, it was so funny because that's exactly what happened. So I knew we'd set up this, it was Memorial Day weekend and, Labor Day weekend. And we had set up this, tour of all these places in Madison. And at the time we lived in Lake Mills and I love our agent dearly. And she's since retired, but so she had set up this whole, schedule. And I think we looked at like 6 or 7 houses. The first house we saw was the one that I knew I was going to want. I totally knew it. So I ran through the house.
I know the story.
I had walked through it. I mean, I was through the whole thing in like less than 6 minutes, and I was like, this is it. And she was like, okay. And she's like, well, we're heading on to the next one. I was so pissed off. Like every house that I went into like that day, like I was just like, okay, yep. And they were all nice houses, but I was like, why am I going through these? I knew that I wanted it. Yeah. And nothing against her. I mean, she wanted to make sure we had the whole thing, but I mean, I feel like when you know too.
Yes.
And so like whether you dislike something or like something, that's one thing. But I was so angry. I was just like, okay, yep, come on, get back in the car, let's go to the next one. And then at the end we sat at a Mexican restaurant and filled out our offer and got it the next day. And I was like, thank God that day was over. But yeah. So liking it, not liking it, when you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
And it's our job. It's our job to be be flexible with that.
And listen.
Yeah. Big one.
And there's going to be some heartbreak and some ups and downs. I mean, I guess for tips, I do tell my clients we might write and lose, but I've never had somebody not end up in
with
the house
they want.
that they want.
Literally just discussed this
Yep.
last Friday. We got denied by some heartbreakers. Oh, it was so painful for me to pick up the phone and tell people we
Yeah.
didn't get the offer. And I know from doing this enough that people will end up where they're supposed to end up and being the most excited at the closing table. But it is so hard to be told no.
It
No.
is.
And it was really fun last Friday to be like, man, remember those breakers? Like
Yeah.
that was just a burner to go through. However, they are the most excited about the house that they have currently. And that's just a hard thing when you're a first time home buyer
Yep.
seeing that.
There's
also
only so
too.
much you can control.
It's so funny that you guys that we all agree on that, because I tell people the same thing. I tell them the exact same thing. I've never had anybody ever say, I wish I would have got that one, not this one. And I don't know how that is so meant to be, but it's the fact that all of us agree on that.
Yeah.
Well, and you can't say it in the moment when you're getting denied because it sounds like the most cliche thing. But I try to tell people up front, but then I remind them at the end, like we're exactly where we're supposed to be. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear, but
Yeah.
it is. It's uplifting to hear that you guys feel the same way, because I totally feel that way.
Yeah. Get back on the horse. Get back out there.
What was your tip? You brought it up. before
Oh,
we end.
real quick. I think a big one around here is, I think you touched base on it earlier, but I'd like to reemphasize, especially as a first-time home buyer, I think it's really important to take into consideration all the things that you're going to pay. So,
Oh yeah.
like
right.
I remember
Yeah.
saying, I want my mortgage payment to be X amount. I thought that that's what it was going to be. And then all of a sudden, taxes were not included in there. I didn't understand. I had factored in with my HOA, but not taxes. In home insurance, not being in my payment. So principal and interest, it's a little bit more than that. So just be on the lookout.
Yeah. Another reason to talk with the lender, whether before us or right after us, because they
Yeah.
can break down those costs.
Just know what it's like, knowing the playground that you're going to be in, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't want to go. You want to know what field you're in, because you want to know that when you're looking at something that you actually have the opportunity to buy it.
Yeah.
You want to.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
So episode 9
Yeah.
is going to be home
That's my
inspection.
drum roll.
Yeah, pick one. I think it'll go really well after this one, right? We got our first-time home buyers, and then episode 9 is going to be the home inspection, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm sure we're going to have stories about home inspection.
Should just be story time. Maybe we find a campfire for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, we'll see you then and continue on. Happy
Till next time?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is all good timing, because it's the beginning of 2026, right? And so we have a lot of people in these positions with buying their first home and then
Yeah.
going through the inspection. So that's why we're kind of, focusing these first couple episodes of the year on it.
Yeah. I think it's great.
Absolutely.
Sorry, until next time.
Until next time, it's like that. See ya.
Bye.